Hello, I'm ELD, and welcome to Time Vault Games. We are doing Fast Effect here, double speed Magic the Gathering, and showing some Pauper that took place in the before times when we were actually able to play in person. Still have some of these in the vault. Lava Spike getting 3 damage in there against Fearless on Devotion, which actually can have a good matchup versus Burn. Does have some life gain in the sense of Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and a Curse of the Pierced Heart. That could pay serious dividends over the course of a long game, which is actually the type of thing that is likely to happen versus Mono Black if they're going to win. Obviously, if they're going to win, it's going to be a long, drawn-out game. 2 damage coming across, thanks to that Get To Lava Runner, and things going really, really well here for Burn. Oubliette takes out the 2/2. 3 mana, a big investment to make that happen. Mono Black has a ton of other ways of making that even more efficient. And can they get to the needed mana to gain that life? Getting down something like a Chittering Rat here would be amazing. Now down to just 6 life. A couple of bolts will do it. 2 and Fire Blast. And a Skewer the Critics finishes that one out in brutal fashion. For those who have not played Pauper before, if you are a fan of throwing around those burn spells, it is one of the absolute best decks in Pauper. Burn is incredibly similar to the Legacy build. So in Legacy, you have Price of Progress and Eidolon of the Great Revels. You have Monastery Swift Spear and Goblin Guide, and you kind of have analogs of most of those cards. Now, there's no Price of Progress replacement. I am not going to lie. That card, when it's good, is a good reason to be playing Burn in Legacy. And in general, prior to the printing of Chandra's Incinerator, I would make the argument that if Price of Progress is not good, then you probably shouldn't be playing Burn, or at least it's not going to be optimal for you. You may have to play Burn because it's your only deck, but your win percentage is going to be significantly lower when Price of Progress is not an absolute haymaker of a card. Now, in Pauper, we actually have a Get To Lava Runner, which is essentially a 2/2 with haste most of the time. And then we also have Thermal Alchemist and Firebrand Archer as other possibilities. And those essentially give your spells spell power +1 for those Hearthstone players out there. Basically, they can do an extra damage every time you play an instant or sorcery. So previously, when Gataxian Probe was in the format, it was even better than spell power because that card isn't even doing damage to your opponent, and it'd still do a point of damage by casting it. That card has left the format, and it survives. I think the banning of Gush was probably the thing that hurt the most for me. That was a disappointing one. At least we still have Brainstorm. But Gush is one of my favorite cards of all time, and I have had to suffer that card being ripped away from me a comical number of times. It's happened multiple times in Vintage and now in Pauper. Just want to make some powerful plays for no mana. I don't know. Whole bunch of bolts there for Christopher. He could be in really good shape. Even on a mulligan, his hand looks like it might stack up pretty well. Oh, and a Duress to lead out. And that does actually hinder things. A Lightning Bolt down. And right now, Christopher just has 10 points of burn in his hand with a single mountain. We got 3 bolts. And they're going to be awkward to make work as well. Those Skewer the Critics going to necessitate having additional mountains. Witches a Rift Bolt suspended, and that actually could be pretty helpful. Oh, another Duress. And Lightning Bolt taken, so now it's 2 Skewers and the Needle Drop. Gonna go face there to enable a Needle Drop and hope to rip a mountain. And he does like a champion. Skewer the Critic also comes out. Down to 10, but 2 cards in hand. Those swamps continue adding. Oh, and Chittering Rats puts a card on top of the library, kind of like discard, but more demoralizing as you miss out for your live card for the turn. Is that a Magma Spray? I'm not actually sure what that card is. Let me know in the comments. 4 mana, getting dangerous. If he makes it to 5 and lands a Gray Merchant, we could conceivably see a scoop. 3 damage to the face, 7 life left against a Hellbent Burn player. This one's looking good for burn. And there's Gary. 4 life gained. Basically evens up the life totals. However, Fearless has 3 damage a turn on the clock. Chris going to need to draw almost perfectly to make it out of this. Like a burn spell every turn could conceivably be enough. Just 2 more swings. And just for good measure, becoming the Monarch there. Thorn of the Dusk Rose, I think it is. A Needle Drop. Didn't actually see. Did he Needle Drop himself? Just to draw a card there. Chain Lightning. 1 card left in hand. Down to just 1, and this should be it. I think we're going to square this up a game apiece, and we'll see what happens in game 3. Witches comes down, and on to the next game. So Mono Black shows you do not want to give them enough time to get to that turn 5. Duress proving to be very strong. Mono Black Devotion, I think actually Fearless might have bought this literal deck off of me. I'm not positive. I've sold a lot of Pauper decks. People who play the format fall in love with it pretty quickly. It's a super low barrier to entry, and I typically have at least, half a dozen to a dozen Pauper decks sleeved up and ready to go. And when people really like one, a lot of the time you can just literally sell them the entire deck as is. They're all decks that I've been able to do pretty well with, though usually if I get to play in these opens, which is a rare thing, I don't usually get to play in ELD opens, but I get to play in the Pauper ones sometimes because they're not the biggest events. I mean, if we got like 12 people or so, like 12 to 16, that's potentially manageable. I can't be playing in 30-person events at my own store. I'd have to hire somebody to work the register at that point for sure. But, if there's like 10 people in the room, or 9, and I make the 10th, I'll definitely play if that's the case. We've got the Baron Moor coming into play tapped. And now a Thermal Alchemist. Oh, Mind Wrench. Super strong here. That's going to hit 2 cards or an artifact. That is like a Hymn to Turok in that situation. So strong. Thermal Alchemist pings for 1. Needle Drop untaps it. Cycling, trying to get some more momentum going here. A Curse of the Pierced Heart. That does create some inevitability, but I'm not convinced the inevitability doesn't rely with this late game strategy. It's yes, he'll be taking a point of damage a turn, but he can undo many, many turns of that with a Gray Merchant. 4 Chittering Rats. And this is a bit of a brutal display. I know I was hyping Burn up a bit. Oh, interesting. I think that was a Fire Blast, and he kept it in hand, putting it on top of the library. He could have Fire Blasted in response and had a fresh card off the top. That could end up costing him here. He's essentially down a card. What a close game. That was a big decision. And I think I would have played it the other way. Chittering Rats into no cards, plenty of Devotion, Mountain off the top, down to 2. Life gain, really necessary here, or Fearless is gonna be... If he passes here, he... Chain Lightning, and he gets it. That will do so. Burn pulls it out. So close. 2 more swings needed, though. 8 life, 6 damage on board. Just didn't quite line up there. And Burn showing why it is one of the best decks in Pauper. A lot of disruption there. Ultimately, Devotion not able to get that 5th land and a Gray Merchant down. And that is a big game-winning play usually against Burn. So this is the type of matchup you can expect to see in Pauper. Mono black versus mono red. Definitely part of the tournament landscape. And both decks pretty fun to play as well. That is all for this one. But don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.